Hi guys, as promised last week in Money Monday, I am really going to raise the roof when it comes to your level of knowledge, motivation and inspiration in investing in shares, particularly industrial shares. Now, a lot of you guys have been asking me, why is the $1,000 project only invested in shares and ETFs? Now, I've previously made a video for you, which I will link in the description box below, as to why I love shares, but to very quickly remind you of the reasons why I love shares and ETFs is one, accessibility. It doesn't take much money to start building up a share portfolio. You can invest in most countries with as little as $500. So you don't need to wait a long period of time to kickstart your wealth creation and investing journey. The second reason is flexibility and control. I like to make the decision as to what stock I'm going to buy and when. And when you buy direct shares or even ETFs, you're completely empowered to make that decision yourself. And the third reason, which is the most important reason and the inspiration around creating this video for you, is the long-term wealth creation opportunities that come with investing in shares. And when I say wealth creation, I'm not just talking about the capital growth of those shares, I'm actually talking about the power of receiving those dividends over the long run. So get excited about industrial shares. You are about to have your eyes completely opened. Now, in Australia, we have three different types of indices. Indices are the way that we group or categorize different types of companies that operate on the ASX. Now, the first one is industrials. Industrials are companies that produce goods and services for the public or for other businesses. Examples are grocery stores, airlines, and banks. The second group is resources, and that is typically mining companies. So companies that drill things out of the earth that then are sort of shipped off to then eventually be made into other products and services that we import back, but generally speaking, mining companies. The third indice is the All Ords. Now that is 78% industrials and 22% resources. Now, by taking these three different indices, we were able to compare and analyze the general health of those companies, but most importantly, the long-term performance of those. And they're just an indice in that they just show the share price or the growth of those different groups together. But that provides us with extremely valuable information because it helps us work out where we want to invest our money and understand whether that meets and suits our long-term financial goals. Now, the most important thing that I want you to get or understand from watching this video is that shares are two-dimensional. When you buy a share, you are open or invited to the opportunity of long-term capital growth. And capital growth is when you buy something and it goes up in value. So for example, you buy a stock for $1 and over the course of say 5 years, it goes from being worth $1 to say $1.50. You have experienced capital growth of 50 cents. The second dimension to shares is dividends. Now, dividends are a form of income paid from the shares. Just like you would receive rent from an investment property, you receive dividends from owning shares. And dividends are a share of the profits that that company has made because you are essentially a part owner in that business when you buy a share in a company. In the long run, those dividends are incredibly powerful, especially when you know how to use them to your advantage. The table that I'm about to show you shows you $100,000 invested in 1979 and the performance over the long run up until December 2015. So $100,000 invested purely in resources stocks in 1979 would be worth about $550,000 by December 2015. And that is not taking into account any dividends. When it comes to the All Ords, which is the blend between the two different groups, it would be worth just over $1 million. But then if we'd invested that $100,000 purely in a diversified portfolio of industrial shares, that portfolio would be worth just under $1.8 million. Now, if I had $100,000 in 1979, I would definitely be wanting to know that that money had been invested in industrial shares only. Now, this information is extremely valuable because you now have this and you can make a decision yourself as to where you want to invest your money going forward today. So you can see why I love investing in shares, because history shows that over the long run, industrial shares outperform other types of shares. Now, when we look at the idea of reinvesting those dividends that we've received from those shares, this story gets even better. When you have the ability to just live off your income from your salary, and you choose not to spend the dividends that you receive from your shares, but to actually reinvest them and increase the opportunity for compounding growth to work its magic for you, the magic gets even bigger and better, and the story, as I said, gets even more incredible. So if I go back to this chart that I just showed you, and we just, instead of taking those shares, those dividends, and actually spending them on our lifestyle, but we choose to reinvest them, the numbers are even bigger. That resources portfolio is worth about $1.56 million. The All Ords portfolio, which I said is that blend between the two, is worth just over $4.7 million. But with the Australian industrial shares, if we chose during that period of 36 years to never actually take those dividends and spend them, but always reinvest them, that portfolio would be worth over $10 million. As you can see, this is why I'm so excited and so enthusiastic about investing the $1,000 project into Australian shares and industrial shares particularly, and of course some international ETFs to help really diversify the portfolio. Now, I have actually done a video on how to reinvest your dividends for compounding growth, and again, I will put that in the description box below. But also, if you want to start building up an investment portfolio and are still very nervous or apprehensive about doing so, don't forget you don't need to invest in shares. There are a whole range of managed funds both in Australia and overseas that provide fantastic investment portfolios that you can be a part of, and you can outsource all those daunting or overwhelming investment decisions to fund managers. The other thing that I want you to remember is when it comes to investing, it is so important that you do your education, you understand what type of investor you are and the risks and the volatility that you're prepared to accept. The other thing is I want you to think long term. If your goals are about building long-term financial wealth and independence for yourself, you need to be looking at long-term performance. Don't get caught up or emotional about the short-term volatility, because often these present amazing buying opportunities. Then of course, I want you to make sure you always diversify your portfolio. That's saying don't put all your eggs in one basket. And if you look at the $1,000 investment project portfolio, you will see that I've invested in, I think, about 15 or 18 different stocks across different sectors. So I've invested in some banks, I've invested in some airlines, I've invested in healthcare. There's a whole range of different companies, because not all stocks perform at the same level at the same time. But over the long run, all those peaks and troughs smooth out by diversifying, and that is incredibly important. And of course, the power of reinvesting your dividends. If you can, try and avoid not spending your dividends, but reinvest them so that you give your investment portfolio the best and the biggest opportunity to grow over the long run for you and serve its best purpose. Remember, the difference between a $1.78 million share portfolio and over $10 million share portfolio, just by simply following that process and that habit, is incredibly powerful over the long run. Now, as a very quick update on the $1,000 project portfolio, I have invested now $37,000, and I restarted the project in October 2016. And the most recent $1,000 savings came from a variety of things, but it actually, one of the great things or new savings that I've discovered is consciously taking savings that I've created from other places. So for example, I was doing my shopping at Woolworths the other day and I saved $25 by using my loyalty card. I put that $25 into the $1,000 project, and amongst other things like renting my house out, working on the weekend, selling some stuff on eBay and Gumtree, that is how I've come up with the most recent $1,000. And the portfolio is creating a passive income of just under $2,000 a year, and I still have my ultimate goal of getting that passive income up to $4,000 a year by October this year. So I will keep you informed as to how it's going. But if you want to see how I have gotten to $37,000 so far, and that is not touching my savings and not touching my salary, head to the Sugar Mama website, go to the $1,000 project tab, and you can read everything that I've done to create, manifest, and build this investment portfolio. And occasionally I will link in the updates on the Sugar Mama website as to where that money is actually invested, so you can see for yourself what I'm really doing. Anyway, as I've said, I'm really going to raise the roof around shares, but this is just a quick introduction, and I'll be doing this as part of Money Monday on a regular basis, so stay tuned. Bye for now. Bye.